If you had the power, what would you do to solve the problem of illegal immigration, and specifically, what would you do about the border? What would you do about the millions of undocumented immigrants who are here, and are there types of immigration that you'd encourage?
Well, first, let me say that in terms of the double border fence, there was my legislation and Duncan Hunter's that passed, which authorized and funded a double border fence, which was what was created, which was what was asked for by the border agents. 700 attacks on border agents last year. They want that to deploy behind. Where it's been deployed in San Diego, it's 95% effective and has cut crime on both sides of the border. We have had a problem with the Bush administration that did not want to enforce that law, and of course with the Obama administration that does not want to enforce it. But if you built the double border fence, which is funded, which is authorized, if you enforce the law, in other words, that would solve the problem. In terms of people working here illegally, the SAVE Act, in which you check Social Security numbers, I'm a co-sponsor of this legislation. If you passed that, if the federal government would just enforce that, then if you can check for the 13 million people who are using phony Social Security numbers and just penalize the employers, you've solved that problem, and people will leave the workforce, and that will basically solve the illegal immigration problem if you could just do enforcement.
Your time is up.
Enforce the border. And by the way, this is no longer just about immigration and schools and all that. As you see in Arizona and the drug problems in Mexico, I mean, this really is a national security issue now, in addition to those things, and particularly if Mexico were to get more unstable than it is. So you absolutely have to completely lock down and enforce the borders. You have to have no sanctuary cities. I think we should be increasing legal immigration. Clearly, the legal immigration we allow is not enough, or we wouldn't have this, including H-1B visas and other things. So we have a larger and more controlled legal immigration. And as far as the 10 million, 11 million, 12 million people who are here, you cannot send them all back, and you should not give them all amnesty. It should be something in between where, for example, anybody who comes here illegally pays a permanent price in that they can never become a U.S. citizen.
Let's just note this, that I was there during the Clinton administration, and which one of the biggest fights we had, and one of the reasons we Republicans were the ones who were able to balance the budget over Clinton's many objections, was the fact that we insisted that federal welfare payments not be permitted to go to illegal immigrants. Clinton vetoed that 2 times before, and a 3rd time around he was forced to accept it. How do we solve the problem? We have to make sure that we do not give benefits to people who come here illegally. If we give benefits to them, we are robbing from our own people, and we encourage more people to come. Then we try to control the border. The Democrats are talking about the DREAM Act, in which we're going to give our scarce education dollars to people who are here illegally, et cetera, et cetera. Anytime you give benefits to people, you're encouraging the flood of millions more to come here from around the world.
Thank you, Congressman. Congressman Calvertt.
I wrote the E-Verify law a number of years ago, and it's working. Employers now have the opportunity. It's a free web-based system to sign up and check all your employees. We have over 200,000 employers on the system now. Several states have mandated it: the state of Arizona, state of Utah, the state of Mississippi, and I think Colorado is in the process of mandating E-Verify. A number of cities here in Southern California and Northern California and throughout the United States. If all the employers were mandated to verify the status of their employees by checking to make sure that people are not using false documents in the process of obtaining a job, they wouldn't be able to get work. And most people will just go home. And I think that's something that we need to make sure would happen. Obviously, we on the Republican side all supported building the fence. I think it was a good idea, but employment verification here is also part of the solution.
First of all, let me tell you that I sat as the chairwoman for the border committee for a couple of years. And there's, this fallacy that somehow the federal government has not done anything with respect to border security is just incorrect. Yeah? Let me remind you what border means for the United States. It's not just the Mexican border. We are also talking about the northern border, which is longer and more than what we have at the south. We're talking about the coastline. There's more coastline in the state of Maine than there is in California. Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Guam, the Virgin Islands. When you get there, you are in the United States. And then there's all the airports, because the second largest group of people from another country are here with without the right documents are the Irish. Okay? So there's a lot we have to talk about. It's not just about the Mexican border. I would like to inform you all.
Well, I've not been to many construction sites that the only language spoken is Irish, so I've got a problem with that. The DREAM Act was discussed by Gutierrez. He was the author, and I think I've debated that with him 5 times on Fox News. I authored the Leave Act, which does the opposite, closes the borders down, has employer sanctions, does not provide benefits to illegals. I'm also the author now of the basically the bill that says if you're born here illegally, to parents who are illegally, you're not an American citizen, the Anchor Baby Bill, and that's become a big issue. That was Nathan Deal and I originally started that. Nathan retired and I took over the bill by myself. But we need to look to the American people and say, we need to protect your job. You've got 15 million unemployed Americans and 8 million illegals working in this country, and you tell me it's not a problem? I think you should ask the American who's out of work if he wants the job before you assume that he doesn't want the job. And you need to go to an employer who's hiring people illegally and find him for it. And if there's no jobs, the people will go home.
Thank you,
They came here for work.
Thank you.